Hey everyone, welcome to my video on automating your blinds in your home. I'll be using a product called My Smart Blinds, and we're going to go through the installation process, the app, and then all the different options you have, different products that you can buy for your blinds to automate them. So my goal was to automate my blinds, so basically every day I didn't have to reach over furniture and open all these blinds in my house. So there were 3 rooms that I wanted to do it in: the office, the living room, and the kitchen, which are the blinds I pretty much open and close every day. So I wanted them to open up automatically in the morning and close at night automatically, and then also have the control if I just wanted to manually open and close them, and I'll show you all the different options for that also. But here's a set of blinds that I've already finished. This is in my office, and these are just a set of wood blinds that I've automated, and you can see right now they're closed. And if I hit the open button on the app, basically, then the blinds will automatically just open up by themselves. And so that's what I want to happen automatically every day, so I don't actually want to go into the app and have to open and close them, but the app is optional, so that if you want to manually open and close them, you could do that. And that's pretty much it. So the automation kit just automates the opening of the slats, so either open or closed. It doesn't lift the blind up itself, so you still have to use the pull cords if you actually want to pull the blind up out of the way, but most people don't actually use the pull cords to open their blinds every day. They usually just do that if they're cleaning the window or something like that. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. That's what we want to automate. So when you're wanting to automate your blinds, I did a search, and there's really only a couple of manufacturers that you can use. There's this one called My Smart Blinds, which will let you automate your current blinds, or you can go to one of the other main systems, which is like Hunter Douglas has a actually really nice system that they put in their blinds, but those blinds are extremely expensive. You have to go through Hunter Douglas, either through a consultant or to their showroom. You can't just order Hunter Douglas blinds online, and they're probably about 4 times as expensive as just getting your own blinds from either a big box store or a custom-made store, and then adding this smart kit into it. So it really just depends what you want. But the Hunter Douglas system is a very nice complete automation system that works not just with blinds, but also works with roller shades and everything else. So they basically have a whole line that you can purchase and automate for your whole house. For my purposes, I have blinds pretty much throughout all my windows, and I didn't want to do every single room in the house. There was only a couple rooms I wanted to do. So for me, this actually works, and it's a lot less expensive and works with the blinds that I already have. So, all right, so we'll get started here, and we'll talk about what's needed to automate your blinds, what you need to purchase, and then we'll go through the step-by-step process of actually installing it. Okay, so in order to automate your blinds with the Smart Blinds kit, the first thing you're going to need, one of the requirements, is you're going to need this automation kit. So this kit is $99, and you'll need 1 kit per blind. And when you open up the kit, basically what you're going to find in it is an instruction booklet. You're going to have the motor, you're going to have the battery, you're going to have a switch and charging port, and then underneath the battery there's a little accessory box for the adapters for your rod, for your tilt rod inside your blind, depending what shape and size it is. And there's some clips in there to do some cord management with the cables. So that's what comes with the Smart Blind kit. You need this, and then the other piece that you're going to need is the charging cable kit. So this kit is a charging cable. It's a 10-foot cable and charging adapter. So if you're going to manually charge your blinds every couple of months, then you'll need this kit. And it does not come with the automation kit, so it is a separate purchase, but it's only $14. So For a 10-foot cord with an adapter, $14 is a pretty good price, actually. It is just a micro USB cable, and with a USB on the other end, just like you use probably for your, if you have an Android phone or other device that uses a micro USB cable. The problem is that the rubber housing around the end of the cable here is very thin, so it fits in the port because there's a little sort of obstruction on the housing. If I'll show you right here on the port, there's this like part of the housing right here wouldn't allow a thicker cable to actually fit in there. So even if you have a micro USB cable, it actually might not fit because the rubber housing around the end of the cable might be too wide or thick. And honestly, even if you went to Best Buy or Amazon to try to get a cable, you're not going to get cheap. You're not going to get a 10-foot cable for under $14 that includes a power adapter. And the adapter obviously is meant for these particular batteries. So even if you had a power adapter, you're either probably going to be undercharging or overcharging the batteries depending on what adapter you're using. So do yourself a favor, just buy the $14 kit. It's not that big a deal. Okay, and what's nice about it, the cable will reach from the blind, because remember the charging port's going to be on the headrail, so at the top of the blind, down to the closest outlet that you have near your blind. So most windows have an outlet near them that you can use. So the 10-foot cable's kind of really nice on that. So you're going to need those two pieces to start with on your installation. Okay, and then depending how much you use your blinds will depend how often you have to charge up the battery. And on my blinds, for example, I only use them probably 3-4 seconds a day because they open up in the morning and they close at night, and it only takes a couple seconds. So really there's no power really being used, and so mine would probably last 3 to 6 months before I would have to recharge it, depending. Now, another piece that you can buy, which I did on all my blinds, is the solar panel. So if you don't want to plug in your blinds every 3-6 months, then you can actually get a solar panel which plugs into the kit, and this would go obviously on the back of the blind facing out towards the window so the sunlight can hit it, and this will keep your blind battery charged up. So that way you don't have to actually get the power adapter every 3 months and charge it up. So it's from what I can tell, it's sort of like a trickle charge, so it just keeps the battery maintained. And there's a indicator on the app that will show you that it's actually charging. And it's $45 for the solar panel, so it's about half the price of the actual automation kit. But in my opinion, it's worth it because I really don't. I just want to put the blinds up and let them do their thing, and I don't want to have to worry about charging it. So the solar panel is kind of nice. It comes with clips and it comes with double-sided tape, so you can either stick it on the back of your headrail, or if your window is blocking the light where the headrail is, then you can actually put 2 clips on the headrail, and it will hang there just a little bit lower so it can get the light. Okay, so really you get the kit, you get the solar panel, and the reason I got the charging cable was just so I could actually charge all the batteries up, top them off before I installed them, so that the solar panel would just have to keep it at its maximum charge. I tested it out, and I did put a battery in because the batteries come at 75% charge capacity when you get them. They're not fully charged. And I did connect a solar panel, and it has maintained it, but it really hasn't charged it up any higher than what the battery originally came as. So it's maintaining the charge. The battery's not getting any lower, but it's actually not getting any higher either. So that's why I bought the charging cable. So I topped all the batteries off, and then I went and installed the solar panel. So that's that piece. There's another option that you can get. It's called the Smart Switch. So what this allows you to do is, if you don't want to use the app So in other words, you don't want to open up your phone, have to open up the app and then control your blinds that way. If you want to manually control your blinds, you can use the smart switch to control your blinds. And it actually can control multiple blinds, and you can set them up in groups. And we'll go through all the features, but basically these two buttons on the left and right here let you switch between the groups, and there's an LED that lights up for each group that you've set it to. And then the up and down buttons are just open and close the blinds. So you can actually set them in groups, so if you hit the button it opens up like all the blinds, or you can set them in certain groups so that one group only opens up one set of blinds, etc. Now the only thing to remember about this entire system here is it is based on Bluetooth technology. So unlike, it's not Wi-Fi and it is not RF frequency. So that means that there is a limited range from the either smart device that you're using or even the smart switch to control the blinds. So you have to keep that in mind. So if you have a very large house and you have blinds like that are really far apart, you either might need multiple smart switches, or you have to walk into the room and control it with your phone, because you have to be close enough so that you are inside the Bluetooth range. So I haven't tested this out yet, so I don't know what the range is, but we will test this out after we get our second blind installed and then see what the range is and if it can control both rooms, or if I have to buy another smart switch, one for each room. This is optional. You don't need this. You have the app to control it, and don't forget, like I said, inside the app you can just schedule the blinds, so you don't even need the app to open and close the blinds. They can open and close automatically by themselves based on time or date, based on sunrise, sunset. They can also open and close based on temperature, so you have a bunch of options inside the app to use it. But I'm going to try the one first, and then depending how it works, I may put one in each room, just because if I walk into a room and I just want to open the blind really quickly because it's either before the scheduled time or after, I can just hit a button right on the wall and it's right there, convenient. I don't have to walk into a different room, etc. Now the smart switch is actually just a little remote that's magnetically held in the wall plate, so you can actually take the remote out and walk around and control other rooms. So if you don't mind that, you can actually use it that way too. But you know, my whole thing is about convenience. I don't want to have to go to one room, grab the remote, and then walk into another room to control it, because I could just open the blind manually and not even have a smart automation kit on the blind if it was that situation. So why do it? So the whole thing is to try to make it automated so you don't have to do these types of things. So we'll go through all these settings and setup, and you'll see how that all works when we get to all these different pieces. Okay. So those are the pieces that are available right now from my smart blinds. There is one more piece, which is called the hub, that is available on their website currently. And what that is for is to hook it up to your home automation system. So for example, I have Amazon's Echo system at my house to control, you know, the lights and all the things inside the house. And that hub is going to be used to connect to your your smart home system, whether it's Google Home or Amazon's Echo, to control the blinds. So you'll be able to eventually control the blinds with your voice. Now the hub is out there, however the app is not ready, and so that's estimated to be, I think on their website it said April 2018 when that's going to be released. So until that's actually released, I'm not going to purchase the hub. But again, the hub is Bluetooth based, so what that means is you would still have to have the hubs sort of in some kind of a central location. If you had a large house and you were trying to control all your blinds. On mine, they're all on the first floor, so I'm thinking that one hub will probably be able to do it and cover everything that I need, but we'll have to see when the actual app portion of it is released, and then we can purchase that piece. So that is one more piece that will be available from my smart blinds in a couple months. And then one last note, for those of you that don't want to go through all this installation of the automation kit, if you are okay with just having either white or walnut 2.5-inch blinds, they do sell their own blinds on their website where you can just type in the size that you need. So you type in the window size, inside, outside mount, and all the different options, and then you can either pick white or walnut colored blinds. That's all they have, so you don't have a lot of choices, and they're 2.5-inch blinds. So if your window frame can't handle 2.5-inch blinds, then they sort of won't work for you. But they do have them there if that's all you need and that fits your windows. You could actually just use that, and you don't even have to worry about doing this whole installation. So check out their website and you can see what they have out there. For my house, I have custom wood blinds in my windows, and they're 2-inch blinds. So the 2.5-inch wouldn't work for me because, first of all, they'd be too wide. They'd be sticking out of the window. And then two, I have wood maple blinds, so obviously I don't want white or some walnut colored. And their website doesn't really say if they're wood blinds. I think they're just plastic blinds that are walnut colored, so it's not the same thing. And that's it. So next we'll start on the actual installation of the kit inside the blind itself. So I have a living room blind that I'm going to do, and I'm going to pull that out here, and then we'll walk through step by step how to install it into the blind itself. Okay, so here we are. We got our blind off the window, so we're ready to do our installation. And you can see here we've got the tilt mechanism here, and then you got the barrels that control the tilt of the slats themselves, and you can see the big rod running through this whole thing. So those are the main items we're going to work on. And so based on your blind, you may or may not have these end caps here on the end of the blind, so you'll need to take one of those off. So those just basically pop out, so you can either tap them out or pry them out, but they should just come out fairly easily. And then you'll have the end off. Now, the instructions tell you to take this piece out, which is the tilt mechanism, first, but I found it easier if you actually take the whole rod out, and then this actually comes out much easier than the instructions they have. So somewhere on your rod there's a way that it's being held into your blind. Sometimes they use crimps, depends what they have. On my particular blind, they use these little black plastic stops here. So these just pop right off the rod here, and then you take those off, and that will release the rod from the blind. So now I can actually slide this rod right out the end of the blind itself. So I'm just gonna basically slide it out. And that's it. So I can just put the rod right here for a second, and we have the rod out of the blind now. So your next step is going to be to remove the actual tilt mechanism, which is right here. So this just snaps in and out of the thing, so you just pull back on the header rail just a little bit, and then just sort of wiggle this out of its opening right here on the bottom of the head rail, and there you have it. There's your tilt rod mechanism. So you can put that aside. You're not going to need that anymore. And so your next step is going to be installing the new switch right here in this same spot. So where this opening is right here is where you're going to put in your pull switch and charging port. So we're going to get that out of the kit right here. So here it is. Okay. Take off the little cord and just go ahead and pull that out. Alright, so the way this works is it has 3M double-sided tape on the one side, and then it also has this clip, C-clip right here that you're going to slide off. Okay, so it comes on from the back and slides and clips in. And you can see there's your port there for your charging port, and this little hook right here is actually a switch. So if you pull on it, it actually comes in and out, and that's what you can use to trigger your blinds manually if you don't want to use your phone, or the wall switch if you don't have one of those. you can actually just put your normal rod on there and you pull it, and it'll actually do the same thing. So that's what that's for. So what you do is, there's a little sort of hook here you can see from the side, and that hooks into your opening, and then once you get it lined up, you just push it against the headrail and the double-sided tape will hold it in. Now what you want to make sure is that on your headrail itself, in your opening, that when you dry fit it, just test it to make sure you can see that your port right here is available. You don't want your port to be obviously covered. And this sort of just hooks in again the same way as the other one did, but you just want to basically put it in and then push it against the headrail with the double-sided tape, and you'd be all set. So you just take off your double-sided tape here, and then you're ready to go. So you're just going to put that in and then push it. So you just drop it in, don't let the tape touch. Go on the bottom here, make sure you have it centered, and then once you have it where you want it, you just push it against the headrail like so, and that's it. It's secure in there now. That's 3M double-sided tape. That stuff really sticks, and once it sticks, it's pretty much where it's going to be. So you don't get a second shot at it, so make sure you have it in the right position where you want it, centered it in the opening, and you're pretty much set to go. And that's it. That's step one. Really easy. Okay, so step two, you have the motor itself. Now the motor comes with this sort of rubber cover that slides off of it here. It's a very flexible rubber cover, and you can see from the ends here, this is what actually hooks into your headrail if it fits. Now in my particular case, this motor is, with the cover on it, is actually just a little bit too high. It sticks a little bit above the headrail itself, which means that I can't have my headrail flush against my window frame. So because of that, I'm not using the motor cover. Now they recommend you use the motor cover because it does two things. It keeps the motor from flopping around, and then it also sort of deadens the sound a little bit. But in my particular case, because I have the 2-inch blinds and my blinds, it doesn't work very well. So I'm not going to use it, and I'll show you how I secure the motor. Okay, and the instructions say if your motor doesn't fit with the cover, you can use it without it. And then the motor itself, on the one side, has the 3 connectors and then a hole in the middle, just a round hole. And on the other side, you have 1 connector, and then you have sort of a hexagon hole on this side. This side is where the adapter is going to snap into, and that adapter is going to be for your rod shape and size. So there's different types of tilt rods depending on your blind, so they basically have accommodated that. And in your box, you're going to have this little accessories box, and if you open up that accessories box and just sort of spill it out here, you're going to see inside here you have a couple of clips, and then you have these white plastic adapters, and you're going to find the one that fits your rod. And then this adapter, which mine happens to be the large square, basically this adapter is the one that you're going to put in your I can't find it right now, but that's the one you're going to put in for your rod, and then it's going to snap into the back of here. Okay, so you're set to go with your adapter. Alright, oh, here it is, right here. So I'm using my large square adapter. So the first thing you're going to want to do is decide where you're going to put your motor inside your headrail. So you can put it in any of the bays between the barrels, basically. So you're going to need a bay for your motor, and then you're probably going to need a bay for your battery. So it really doesn't matter where you put it. I put it fairly close to the end here where it has to connect to the wire, obviously, so you have to make sure you have enough length, but I've got plenty of length here. And you're going to want to sort of route your wire first to where you want it. So if it has to go behind your barrel or wherever it's going, and then connect it to your motor, and then stick your motor in the headrail. Now, the motor has sort of a gap on the bottom. There's like little feet here. so that underneath it your cord can run. So this is for not for the tilt mechanism, but this is for the pull mechanism when you're pulling your blinds up and down. So this is the reason I put it on this end as opposed to the other end, because there's only one. I'm at the last barrel here, so there's only one tilt cord. As you go farther down, of course, you're going to have multiple tilt cords. So there's going to be 3, and then 2, and then 1. So it's much, you have a better chance of the cord not binding if you just have one tilt cord as opposed to multiples that run underneath the motor. Now if you have the cover on, obviously it's even higher, so you have even more space, but the last one I did was fine using running the cord underneath there, and it didn't have any problems. And then on the other side is the connector for the battery, so you want to make sure that that's on the same side as the cable's going to run, depending where you're going to put your battery. So the main part is to get this in and then get the rod through and get it all set up inside the headrail. So the first thing we're going to do is find the correct adapter that we need. So in this case it's the large square one that fits on my tilt rod. So you can see here, if I put it on here, it slides on, and that's perfect size. So they have all the different sizes. And then that actually snaps right into the end here of the motor. So you can just put it in and you just push it until you hear it click. And it will click right in there. So now it's snapped in, and that's your tilt rod adapter. Okay, so now that I have the adapter, I can put the motor in the header itself, which you can see it pops right in. And I have a little slack here, and the thing about the motor is you have to line it up. So the actual hole that's in the motor is actually right here, so it's a little bit off center from the center of the whole housing, and that matches the barrels here. So these are not centered completely in the header here, they're a little off center. So you have to make sure that your motor, when you're putting it in, you can see it's off center here, right? There's more space on this side than this side. So you got to make sure it matches. So you can't put it in this way, obviously, because now it doesn't match. You wouldn't be able to get your rod to line up, or your rod's going to be kinked because it's not going to line up perfectly. So as far as the orientation of the motor, you really don't have a choice. It just has one direction it goes into. You just have to make sure it's lining up with however your barrels and your headrail are. So I'm just going to stick it in there for now. And now I'm going to put in my tilt rod. So I'm going to put that in, and you run it through the barrels, and you want to make sure that the barrels are all lined up, because when I did this the first time, I actually had one barrel that was off a little bit, and so that was not lined up with the other barrels. And then when I tried to run the blind, the one side of the blind was all messed up, and I couldn't understand why, and then I realized I had the barrels not aligned. So you know, your barrels are going to have, like you can see on these, there's like a little opening here that you can use as a guide. So just make sure all those line up completely as you're putting your rod in. So I'm just going to put my rod in my first barrel here, and then it's going to go through the motor. Okay, and then you can see I'm going to my next barrel, and I want to make sure this is completely lined up, has the same exact orientation as the first barrel. And then I'm going to go down through the other two barrels and make sure they're all lined up the same exact way also. And then the last barrel, which you can't see on the video, but going through the last barrel. Okay, so now I have my tilt rod in place. It's going through the motor here, and then it's going through all the barrels, and all the barrels are lined up. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to put my two clips back on that I had before to hold my tilt rod in my headrail. Okay, so that'll prevent the rod from moving back and forth inside the headrail. Now, they also give you these little rubber sleeves that you can use depending, because you may not have these clips on your headrail. You may have like a crimp system that you had to break or something, and so they give you these little rubber sleeves to put on the ends, so that kind of do the same thing and keep it inside the headrail. I don't need them in my particular installation, but you would use them if you needed to on yours. So obviously you don't want these, if you have the plastic ones like I do, you don't want them tight against the barrel because you have to be able to move. But just to hold it in basic place so the two ends don't touch the end of the caps on the end. Okay. And then if we go back to this end, we can put our end cap back on now because we're pretty much done with that piece. So we'll just pop that back in. Okay, so we got our cap back on the end there. Alright, so now we have our motor inside our headrail here, and we have to do our connections. So we've got our battery that we have to connect, so you can unwrap that wire. And then the battery can pretty much go anywhere. You can see it has a slot here so that the tilt rod can go through it, and you can pretty much just put it in the headrail. It just sort of snaps in like so, and just sort of just sits on top of the headrail and just slides there, so it's not really anything big deal. And then you have the wire that's going to go to your motor, so you can run your wire behind, in this case my barrel here. I can just run it behind the barrel, and then you're going to hook it up to your motor. Now, you know, they tell you in the instructions to hook it up ahead of time, so because it's hard to get to these little connectors if you don't have small fingers or anything like that. So I'm just going to get I need those pliers, little pliers I have, and just pop that in there. But basically you're going to pop this inside that connector, and then that's going to be connected. And then what you're going to need to do is make sure that this cable doesn't interfere with this barrel, so we're going to make sure that this cable is against this headrail here, and it doesn't interfere with the barrel. So let me go get the pliers and we can do that piece. Okay, so we've connected the wires from the switch to the motor here, and from the motor to the battery here. And as you can see, what I've done here is I used one of the clips that came with the kit to keep the wires routed against the headrail. But then when I got close to the barrels here, because I wanted to make sure that this wire was not going to touch the barrels in any way, I actually used just some duct tape here, and I just duct taped the wire against the headrail. I actually push it up against a little edge there underneath it, because it rolls over the edge, so I actually push the wire up underneath there and then put some duct tape on both sides, and that keeps the wire completely away from the barrel. And I did the same thing on this side over here for this barrel that goes to the battery. You can do whatever you want, you can use the clips or whatever, but that's just something I use to keep it completely away from the barrel, so it's not going to interfere with it. The other thing I did is on the motor here, to keep it secure inside the headrail, I just put a little piece of foam here, which is sort of just a little compression fit. So I had these little pieces of foam from some packaging thing or whatever, and I just squeeze them between the motor and the headrail. And so what that does is it keeps the motor from moving around, because remember, I didn't use the motor mount sleeve. So now it's secure, it doesn't move at all, and that's just enough. You don't have to do anything else. You could also maybe use double-sided tape on this side if you wanted to hold it in, but this is much easier, and you just basically pop it in, and that's pretty much it. So we have our motor, we've got our battery mounted, we got our wires routed. So the next thing is, on our headrail, we got to put our little C-clip back on for our switch. So if we go to our switch here, and we just put our C-clip, it just slips on from the back, and you're going to hear a snap, and that's pretty much it. Now this is secure, so that can't pop up when you're pushing up on it to put the plug in or anything like that. So you've got that part now installed. So for the basic installation, that's it. You're ready to go. And you could put this up on your window, remount it, and then calibrate it and get it ready to go. But we're going to do one extra piece, which is we are going to do the solar panel. So we're going to mount that. So let me go get the solar panel and we'll show you how you do that. Okay, so here's our solar panel kit here. You can see you got the solar panel. It has 2 clips that come with it right here. And then it comes with some adhesive strips and then a alcohol cleaning wipe if you're going to use the adhesive strips. So basically this panel, if I pop this out of here, you can see it's just a thin, long, rectangular panel, and you would put your strips on back of here and mount it wherever you want to, or you can use the clips, which would mount onto your, basically onto your head rail, and then you put the clips onto your solar panel like that, and you can hang it from the head rail if you want to hang it. So you can see if I was hanging it, it would be just sort of below the head rail, but you're going to see that when your blinds are open, so I don't want to do that. So I'm actually going to put mine using the adhesive strips, and I'm going to mount it on the back of the head rail, because on my window that's open and the light will still hit it. And then you get your cable that you're going to use to connect the solar panel to your motor housing. And then before you do that, just put your cleaning wipes. So these are obviously one-time adhesive strips, so you got to make sure that you know exactly where it's going to be. You're not going to hit any mounts for your head rail or any like frame or molding on your window. So you got to make sure before you mount it that you know exactly where it's going to be, and then you can mount it on your head rail. So we're going to actually mount it on the back of the head rail here. Okay, and so for my situation, basically I have the box mount on the end here in the window frame, and there's one in the directly in the middle, so anywhere in between there I'm good to go. So I'm gonna go just measure that in the window real quick, and then I'm just gonna put a piece of like tape here just so I know what the area is I need to be within, and then we'll mount the solar panel on the head rail and hook it up. Okay, so we've taken our alcohol wipe that they provided. We wiped down the head rail, not just to remove any grease that might be on it. And then we did the same thing on the back of the solar panel, and we put our adhesive strips on here. You probably don't need all these, but they were there, so I just used them all. And so basically we're going to take off the backing right here, and then we're just going to adhere it to the back of the head rail here. And I've marked with the little tape at the end here where the center mount is on the window, so as long as I'm in between here anywhere, I'm good to go. The cable that you have here is going to plug into the end of the solar panel, and it's at either end, so depending which way you want to route your cable, you're good to go. And then you're just going to plug it into the motor housing and make sure you route the cable so there's no interference. So, you know, if I put it right here, I can route the cable right through here and right to the motor housing, and I'll be good to go. So let me take off these adhesive strips and we'll get this mounted, and then we'll hook up the cable. Alright, so here we have our finished installation. So you can see we've got our solar panel on the back here. The wire just runs over the top. I do have a space between my header and my window frame. There's like a little gap because of the box mounts and everything like that, which I think most people would have. Otherwise, you could always run the wire down through the end if you needed to, but that's good enough for what we need here. And then you can see I just have the wires all routed in those clips to make sure it doesn't touch the bar here. And of course, this will be the string for the pulling the shades up and down, so that just runs in the middle. And then we have our motor. You can see we have our 2 connections here, the black one for the solar panel and the gray one for the switch. There's a blue one here. I'm not sure what it's for. It's just an empty port, but it's not used for anything. And then on the other side we have our battery connection, and then our wire that runs over to our battery. So we're basically ready to put our blinds back up into the window, and then we can calibrate it and get them set up. But before you do that, don't forget to turn on the switch, because obviously if it's not on, it's not going to be able to do anything, and then you're going to have to take the headrail down. So just make sure the switch is on. You should see the lights inside the motor light up and flashing. There's a green one and a blue one here, and then you're set to go. So we're going to go put this up inside the window now, and then we'll show you how to use the software to actually add it to the app and then calibrate the blinds. Okay, so here we have our blind in our window now. You can see we have this is a big picture window with 2 casements on the end. So basically I'm going to do this 2 more times for the 2 end blinds. This window has 3 separate blinds on it. So in the center blind here, you can see I got it hung back up, it's open. And so now we have to go to the app and actually add it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the actual app itself. So you're going to go to the Smart Blinds app. I just put it on my iPad here, so it would be a lot easier to see it. So let me actually get a little closer here so you can actually see this. Okay, so you open up the Smart Blinds app, and basically you can see it's going to list all your blinds here that you have currently, and you can see I have the office one right here, and we're going to add a blind to this thing. So you see at the bottom there it says add room, so I'm just going to hit that, and then it's going to ask for a room name, so I'm just going to call it living room. Hit create, and then there's a choice here to assign existing or set up new. So I'd like to set up new blinds. And then it says pull the on the cord of the blind you'd like to pair. So that little switch that we installed that has the wand on it, that's what we want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that real quick. Just pull it down once. It says it found 1 blind. It's connecting to the blind. And so now we have a new blind. Now you can name the actual blind itself. So in this new blind we're going to call it living room center. So it's the center blind of the living room window. And then you're just going to click, so you can see it says living room center. And then we're just going to click next here. Okay, and then it says before you can use this blind, it needs to be calibrated. We like to calibrate it now or later. So I'm going to say calibrate. And then it says make sure the Smart Blinds kit has been fully installed and that the blind slats have been fully lowered. So what's going to happen here is, if I turn back around to the window here, okay, so I'm going to do next on the thing, and you can see the blinds are actually moving. So they have closed. So they're trying to find the endpoints basically. Okay, and then once it stops, it's going to give you something on the app that's going to basically say what position is the blind in. It's either in the up position or the down position. In my case, it's in the up position, which is already checked here. So I'm going to click next. And then it says now your blind should be in the fully open position, which if you look here, it actually is. It's in the open position now. And so I'm going to click next. Now if it's not exactly in the position you want, you have these little up or down arrows here to adjust it. So if your slats are not exactly 100% horizontal, you can adjust them. So mine are up just a hair, so I'm going to hit the down arrow a couple times. And it's very slight, but it will actually move your blinds a little bit. So if I look at it from the side here to see that they're completely horizontal, so you can calibrate them so that you know, if they're slightly tilted up a little or down a little, that you can actually change that around. So now that I have that done, I'm going to click next on the thing, and now it says your blinds should be fully closed, which they are. And again, you can adjust it if they're not fully closed, if they're not tight enough. Okay, and so I'm going to go next, and now it goes the other direction. So your blinds should be in the fully closed up position, which they are. And if they're not, again, you can adjust them. And like, again, you just use the little arrows. Could go a little bit more, probably a little tighter. And that's it. And then you hit next, and then it says the blind is calibrated, ready to use. Finish. Okay. And then you can go to your room setup, and then you can pick smart open and closed positions. Okay. So the closed position can be either in the up position or the down position, depending which way you'd like it. On these particular blinds in mine, because I have the sun coming in at a certain time of day at night, especially in the summertime, if I have it in the down position, the light will actually stream through and still come through to hit the TV. So I like it sort of in the up position when it's closed. But you can move these up and down things to decide what you want. And the same thing with your smart open position if you want it right in the center. Or maybe you want your smart open position to be a little bit up or down, and you can adjust it with these sliders. So it really depends which way you want it. So if I want it to be the smart position the opposite direction, I could just move it down to the bottom, and that means it's going to be on the pointing down when it's on the closed position. And then next. And then it comes up and it says, would you like to add scheduled events to this room? So I do. I want to add an event because I want to schedule these to open automatically by themselves. So let me just put this over here so it's a little easier. So I'm going to do add event. And then I'm going to pick the blind position, which in this case is the open position. You can see it's right in the center here. And I'm going to do... you have a couple choices. You can do gradual tilt. And if you don't know what that means, you can hit the little informational button there, and it says gradual tilt is enabled. The blinds will start moving at the selected time, and they will move to the selected position over the course of 5 minutes. So they slowly open up and close. I don't really want that. And then they also have this one called sun tracking. And this says if sun tracking is enabled, the scheduled event time will shift with the changing sunrise and sunset times. So based on your location, they know the sunrise and sunset times, and it will move the scheduled event back or forth depending. I don't really want that either. I'm just going to use the actual dates and times. So at the top of the app here is where you pick the days. So I'm going to pick all days of the week. I'm going to just select them all. And then the time that I want it to open, which in this case is going to be, let's say, 8. We're going to do 8 a.m. So 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, it's going to open in the open position. Okay, and then I'm going to hit done. So that's my first scheduled event for this blind. Now I'm going to add another event. And the blind position is going to be closed, and I can either pick it as up closed or down closed depending what I want it. So if I pick down closed, that means it's going to be closed all the way down. And then at the top again, we're doing the same thing. We're picking our time. So I'm going to do 5:30 because right now we're in the winter time, so it gets dark earlier. PM. And we're going to pick every day of the week. And then we're going to click done. Okay, and you can see the pictures on the right hand side. So it shows open at 8 a.m. and close at 5:30. And you can turn these events off. So if for some reason you didn't want them to run, like you were on vacation or something, you can turn them on and off temporarily. And that's pretty much it. And I'm going to hit done. Okay, and that's it. The blinds are ready to go. So again, it lets me assign new blinds or set up new blinds, and I'm just going to hit the finish button in the lower left. And now I have my blinds in the living room as one of my setups here. So if I turn around here and go to my blinds again, you can see here on the living room there's two icons here, one open and one closed. So if I just hit the open, so I'm going to push it up here so you can see the blinds. And I'm on this app, I'm just going to hit open for the living room. And you can see they opened up. And if I hit closed on the app, and they closed. So they're all calibrated, ready to go, and I can change that around as I need to. And so when I do the other two blinds on the other sides of the window, the two extra ones, then I'll add them to this same room here, and they can all run at the same time, open and closed. Then this is also where we're going to do the smart switch, where you can set up a smart switch on your main menu here, and under the smart switch you can select the different things. So we'll get to the smart switch after I get the other two blinds installed. So let me go install the other two blinds in the living room here, get those all set up, and then we'll come back and we'll show you how the smart switch setup works. Alright, so here we have the all the blinds finished. I've got all the automation kits installed on all three of them. And if you look at the app here, you can see we've got living room, center, left, and right as individual blinds. And then if I go back, you can see there's living room, 3 blinds. So there's just the open and close. So if I did the close on the entire room, all 3 blinds are going to close. And then if I did the open on the same thing for that room, and all the blinds open. So we got it all set up, ready to go. So I've got 2 rooms here. We got the office and the living room, and the living room has 3 blinds in it. Office just has 1. And you can also do an all blinds. So if I just wanted to close all the rooms or open them once, I can hit those. So it's pretty much set to go for all the blinds. And if you go into the all blinds, you'll notice that next to the blinds they have a little sun, which basically means that the solar panels are working and charging the battery, and it also tells you the battery's status. So if you don't see the little sun, that means the solar panel's not charging. So it's either there's no sunlight out, it's at night, or you got the solar panels blocked by something and you need to move them around. But that's a quick way to tell that everything's working okay. If you were charging them with the cord, then you'd have a little lightning bolt next to it showing that they're charging. So our next step is going to be to actually set up the smart switch and see how that works. So let me go get the smart switch, and we'll get that set up in the app. Alright, so now we're going to add the smart switch to our system. So this is the switch that has the little remote that pops in and out of the wall plate. And when you go into the app, basically you're going to go over to the main menu, smart switch, and then it's going to ask you to add a switch, which I've already added, and then I called it the office. You can edit that switch if you needed to, if you want to change the name of it or delete it. I'm just going to leave it for office for now. We'll see what happens. And then once you select that switch, it's going to ask you to push 2 buttons, the 2 middle buttons here, to pair it, just so it can connect to it. So you just push the 2 middle ones, and you'll see the lights will be blinking, and then you'll be at the switch. And then it'll have the left and right arrows on the screen to select the different colored LEDs at the top. So there's 5 LEDs, and so that is basically 5 groups or blinds that you can set up inside the system. So if you want to separate them out, you can do that and put them in kind of different groups or blinds. And you select them to this colored group, so you can do whole rooms or you can just do individual blinds. And then once you've done that, you just can save it, and then that'll be for that particular LED colored light. And then when you want to actually activate the blinds, you just use that light. So in this particular case, it's showing me the blue light here. So if I do edit group, you can see in the blue group right now, the office blinds are assigned here. And then I have the living room blinds listed. And there's some unassigned blinds, which I don't have, obviously. So I don't have any unassigned blinds. So I have these 3 living room blinds I still have to put in here. And then the office one. So I'm going to put the living room on a separate blind. So I'm going to hit cancel here to go back. I'm going to switch my group to the, let's see, we'll do the green group. Edit this group. So right now we're going to do the whole living room. Take the office off of there. So the only thing on the green group are the living rooms. And then there's a smart positions button at the bottom here, where you can do the same thing if you want to have whatever you want the button to do for the smart position. So for the living room blinds, I want it in the up for the closed position, and then in the middle for the open position. So I hit that, and that has saved that for that once you click the save button at the bottom here. So the green button is the living room. The purple button, if I do an edit on that, will just be the office. Check that smart position. In this case it's open and down is my smart positions. Hit save on that, and then hit save to save everything. And that should be it. So we'll see if they work. So basically on this remote here, if I switch it to the green, that should be the living room, and if I switch it to the blue, that should be the office. So let's see what happens. So here's the office blinds right here. So I'm at the blue right now, and I'm just going to hit the down for close. And they closed. So now I'm just going to hit the up for open. And actually when it's connected, when the blue light is connected like this, like you see here, it actually every time you hit it will do a 45 degrees. So you're not getting your smart position, it's just going up and down by your 45 degrees. If you let the light go off, so you have to wait a minute or two and the light will actually go off, then if you hit the button, it will do its full motion, whatever it is supposed to do. So that's the full closed. Now you actually have to wait till the light goes off. Because as soon as the light's on, it's connected to those blinds and it's going to do the 45 degrees for every hit. Now if I do the open, it should just open it to the midway point as usual in the smart position. Okay, so that works on the office blinds. So let's go over to the living room and see if we got the same situation. So actually I'm going to close the office blinds here. And we're going to make sure that the living room did not close. And they should still be open when we go over there. Okay, so here's our smart switch. Okay, and we've set it up for the living room. So I'm going to use the buttons on the side to switch it to the red, because that's the group that is the living room. And the blue is the office. So I'm going to switch it to living room. Now, if you don't wait until the light goes out, then if you hit the button, the blinds will just move in 45 degree increments. That's all they do. So you won't go to the fully open or closed position. If you wait till the light goes off, then if you hit the closed position, it will use your smart positions that you programmed for close, and then the blinds will close in that position. And then you wait till the light goes off again, and then if you want to open them, you just hit the top button. And for that group, it'll open all those blinds. So all the blinds are open again. If I want to do the office, then I could just switch to the blue group, and that would do the office. I could have all the blinds in one group if I wanted to, and then when I hit the open and close, it would do the same thing, and the buttons would control it the same way. The only drawback to this is that if you set a set of blinds like I have in the living room in my closed position, you notice that when I hit the close button, my blinds actually go in the up closed position. Okay, whereas my office blinds, I have them going in the down. And the reason is because these casement windows in the living room here have little controls at the bottom, and if I have it go the opposite direction, the blinds actually get caught on the controls and hang up. So I need them to go in the up position for the close. But you can't put blinds on the same group and have the same and smart positions remembered for each blind group. You have to, because once they're in that group, whatever color you picked here, the smart positions are the same for all the blinds in that group, no matter what. So that's a little bit of a software sort of design flaw, I think, where you should be able to, for each blind, assign its smart positions and not have to use a general one for everybody. So again, if I just hit the open, it'll open all the blinds. Okay, so for the most part everything works. So I think because of that one little drawback, I'm going to get a smart switch for each room and then assign them to their own groups, and that way they'll open and close to the right positions. Otherwise, when you go into the room, you have to hit the button and then you have to wait till the light goes off, which takes I'm not sure, it's probably 15 seconds or so before the light actually disappears. So you kind of be standing there waiting for the light to go off and then hit the open or close to get your smart position. So if you leave it on that, then you don't have to do that next time. So since this is set to, like, let's say this is set to the red position, and I leave it that way and it's on the wall in that room, then the next time I go in that room, I don't have to like do anything. I just hit the button and it'll just go to the fully open or closed position because it's preset to that room. It's only when you're switching between rooms that you kind of have to wait till the light goes off so that it can not do the 45-degree increments and instead just do the fully open or close. Now, if you do want to move the blind a little bit for whatever reason, then of course you could use this, and then every time you hit it, the blind's going to open and close a little bit, and you can actually go up or down. As long as it's lit, you basically have full control. So I can move it down a little bit with the button, I move it up a little, so you have like finer control over the blind. But for me, it's usually just open or closed. I mean, that's pretty much it. Maybe in the summertime when the sun is in a certain position, I might change it, but that's pretty much it for the most part. So I think I'll just get one of these for each room, and then I don't have to worry about it. But if they were able to do the whole smart positions per blind, then this would, I'd only need one of these, and that would control the whole first floor probably. So, because it looks like no matter what room I'm in here, the range is pretty far. So that's pretty much it for the smart blinds. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll do a follow-up video once the hub's released and we can actually get it controlled with the smart home, the Amazon Echo in my case, and we'll see how that works. But so far everything's been working good, and solar panels are keeping the battery charged, and everything's working. So these are on a schedule, so every day they open and close at the same time. So we'll check the living room blinds tomorrow, make sure they open and close right on schedule. All right, thanks a lot.